Welcome to the 68th broadcast of the T-ROH show. That's your host, Keith. I got John with me.
Good evening, folks. Hope you enjoy the call.
And we always have a lot to talk about, but there's been some uh, major changes that have happened in this country. I'm going to show you what's happened here. The American National Union of the United States of America ratified the Charter of the American Continent. So what you're witnessing here is what they call a great separation, because the Charter of the American Continent was created back in, I believe it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a continental charter. It's kind of like a United Nations, but it's zeroed in on North, Central, and South America, because people have to realize that people from Brazil, they're Americans too. U.S. citizens don't see it that way. They believe they're the only Americans on the planet, but they don't realize that people from Mexico, they're Americans, and from all of the other countries in Central and South America, they're Americans too. And believe it or not, they do have American national ID cards. They have a national ID card that they run they drive on. There's some countries that do that in South America. They don't have driver's licenses. They just have a national ID card. Driver's licenses are considered de facto. So, facto ID cards in international law. The Charter of the American Continent is available, I believe, on the National Great Registry. If you want to read it, it just does nothing. It promotes the human rights of the people. It is not something where all the countries come together and start running everybody's lives. It's actually the exact opposite. This also allows the states and the states of the Union to contract internationally, if they'd like, with other countries in Central and South America for oil and that type of thing, without having to include anybody else in the agreements. If Texas wants to sell oil to South America, they are more than welcome to do so. It's not a big deal. So this is a huge move by the American National Union, and I think that once this is fully realized, people that are a part of the American National Union and have a National Union ID card are not a part of the Constitution of the United States of 1789. That was done by the Masonic Lodge. Everybody knows it. So there's no reason to sit here and pretend anymore that that they're a part of the that particular private company. And they would also be considered, people part of the American National Union would be considered non-citizen, non-resident alien to the United States of America. So there's a separation going on between the Roman Catholics and the rest of the people. And that's it. That's how it works. It'll take a while for this to sink in. That's all I'm saying. It's going to take a while to see the whole thing unfold. So I'm just going to say, there it is. It's available. It's on the National Great Registry. You can read it if you want. This is just an instrument of ratification, and it'll be going in the newspaper here after the program has been recorded. And we've got another issue here where the government of the United States of America publishes an offer to the U.S. Department of Defense, DoD. This is a major problem because the government of the United States of America hereby publishes the following offer to the U.S. Department of Defense, DoD. The government of the United States of America, hereinafter government there, receives at least 2 complaints and or reports of children taken from their families per day. This is going on a lot with the pedophile networks, that have gotten themselves into CPS. There are so many complaints that the taking of children by Child Protective Services has become an epidemic. Now, we're not saying that one or two complaints is an epidemic. What we're saying is that just in Arizona alone, they're taking 30 to 35 children a day, which comes out to, what is that? We did the math last time, didn't we, John?
Yes, there's about 575,000 a year if it went nationwide at that rate.
Okay, so 575 a year in one state, right? Or nationwide?
That's 575,000 people nationwide.
Nationwide, okay. So that's a lot of
Yes.
children. Although the government knows that some of these separations may be legitimate, and this offer is not intended to demonize CPS, most of those caseworkers are good people and mean well. However, the reports received that are being investigated are horrible stories that make the average person sick to their stomach. As the government is receiving reports of countless children being taken and adopted out for a price, and there have been multiple reports of child molestation by foster parents. We have one guy where they took his son. Guy he never abused his son at all. He just had a different political view. He was more conservative. They took his son, they changed his son's name and adopted him out. That's just one of them. Just took his son and adopted him out. That was it. And that's I'm surprised they haven't gone all ninja on him. It says the government has received horrific stories about this subject matter. It says the government has seen the reports of CPS workers with nothing more than opinions written in their records, with no state statutes listed whatsoever. So they can see a whole generation. We can see a whole generation of dysfunctional children that are being raised in an overtaxed CPS foster care system that will grow up to hate this country because of what has been done to them. And we have an offer here. It says the government is offering an organized joint task force wherein the government and DOD come together and form a task force to investigate and return those children that are in fact not in an abusive situation. This offer is for DOD and no other agency, although they can designate another agency if they'd like to, but that will be up to them. The government will pay the cost of this offer and is seeking cooperation to resolve this issue before it grows into an uncontrollable situation. Many parents are seeking another recourse, and CPS workers, local judges, and lawyers and local police will not favor that outcome. Perpetrators of these crimes have pushed the mothers and fathers to their limits, and it's time to stop these horrific acts against families. Technically, this is military going against families or taking families apart or separating the children and all that. That's actually an international crime. The government does not seek retribution against those who have perpetrated these crimes against the rights of the child and their families. And the reason why it seeks to return these children to their families and move on to the next and get those children returned. It's more important to protect the innocent than it is to exact punishment on the guilty. That's why we put that in there. It's more important to get those children back to their families. So the government seeks cooperation in this matter. Take this offer seriously because before it's too late and the parents are moved to violence. The most dangerous situation in the world is a mother or father that is fighting for the well-being of their children with nothing to lose. The contract can be written and all parties can agree to the course of action within the contract. If the offer is accepted, please contact the Office of the Secretary of State at this email address. Now, if they don't accept something like that, or they decide to take another course of action, and the children are returned, mission accomplished, not a problem. If they just completely ignore it, then we know DOD is part of it. Because we've noticed that the courts have not changed at all. As a matter of fact, they've become worse since Trump got in. And it's a major problem, folks. You can't keep having this. You can't take 500,000 children a year away from their parents and not expect a growing army against you. That means there's 1 million mothers and fathers out there that eventually, over a long period of time, they've been trying to do the paperwork and they've been trying to make their claims and everything else. But the bottom line is they're getting no due process whatsoever. They're just taking them. So if that keeps up, I would not want to be a CPS worker in the near future. So we got to get something done about this fairly quickly and get these children returned, regardless of paperwork. I wouldn't even worry about forms. I would be finding the children, getting them back to their mother's and father's houses, drop them off, go to the next, drop them off, go to the next. You got to get this reversed soon. So at any rate, I saw a video the other day. Matter of fact, I'll cover this before I get to the video because I think the video is going to be difficult to get to. Hold on one second. I think I can get to it fast enough.
You're getting pretty low on your volume key.
I know. I'm not speaking very loudly.
Okay.
Okay, this was brought to our attention. There was a video, and the way it was published, it was not favorable. Okay. However, let me go over to the newspaper, and I'll get this set up for everybody so they can see what I'm talking about. We had an Antifa warrant go out the other day. It was, I'm going to bring this up. I just wanted to cover it because the way things are published are not necessarily the way things are, things are happening. So at any rate, here we are. Okay. And hopefully people will be able to see this. All right, hold on. Let me get the share screens here. Okay. Now, this is what was going on. And Adam had brought this up to everybody. Now, it makes it look like these guys are all bad guys, doesn't it? They put it out there. Police attack anti-Nazi protests in Georgia. My connection's a little slow, folks, so just realize. Okay, here's the thing. Let me show you something. Okay, these aren't anti-Nazi protesters. Okay, I'll show you that real quick again. These guys here, these are communists. This is Antifa. Later in the video, you hear one of these guys here saying that take the mask off. They weren't allowing them to put masks on and cause all their havoc and all that kind of stuff. So we have put out a Antifa warrant for them. There it is right here. Took me a minute to find it. And it says the grounds for this international complaint include, but are not limited to, the acts of international terrorism perpetrated by Antifa organizations and members. It is funded by Soros and all the rest of the goons. It is known and unknown, and as well as violations of numerous articles within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So the next Antifa protest, they say anti-Nazi protest in Georgia. Look what happens. They put up with their crap. These are all commie pinkos right here. And these people were getting ready to do a bunch of violence, and they weren't having it. They weren't putting up with that at all. See that? Went right after him. That's an Antifa guy. They're not having it. this communist crap. These guys all right here, they made it out to where these guys were being the guys in uniform were being all Nazi, but actually they weren't. They weren't putting up with the Nazis themselves. I'll show you what we got here. Hello, Mr. Antifa guy. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if we can find him. These people were getting ready to do a bunch of violence.
Wasn't Antifa originally hired by the Lawyers Guild?
Yes. The Lawyers Guild is a communist organization.
Yep.
Let me see if I can find that guy with the mask on.
Yeah, they claim to hire them because the police couldn't protect them.
Uh-huh. So, folks, these guys here with the uniforms on, these are the good guys. Okay, they're protecting you from these commies right here that were getting ready to do a bunch of violence. So don't give them a rash of crap. They're on your side. Fair enough? Right there. See? That's an Antifa guy. He was getting ready to do some violence. And my guess is they put these white supremacist guys in there, these guys here, to put them, to get these guys to come out. Then they went after them. They were pulling Antifa out and luring them out of their houses so they could nab them. But this little commie right here is the one that's been throwing pee on people and attacking them and hitting them and all this other stuff. This is one violent little son of a bitch. And these guys here are the good guys that are stopping this crap. So don't give them any crap, okay? They're helping and getting rid of this Antifa terrorist group that's going around and trying to give put this country under a communist regime. So just wanted to let you know, what you think is happening is not happening. Or what it appears, or how it was put. And police attack anti-Nazi protests. They weren't anti-Nazi. They're going after communists. They weren't attacking anybody. They're arresting communists is what they're doing. This is illegal in this country. Communism is an illegal government. Communism is illegal in international law, in accordance to the law of nations. So no, they're upholding the law. Good for those guys. Just don't always think that the way it comes out on the news that the guy with the uniform that's putting these guys down is the bad guy. This isn't the bad guy. Force is not bad when they're doing it for the right reasons. So at any rate, okay, so I wanted to bring out, there was a question, I believe, and today we're gonna tell you how the Catholics can actually fix their problem with their Constitution. So we're gonna show them that here in just a little while. But we also wanted to bring out there were questions on the claim that the Georgetown University was a city-state. It's its own city-state. So we have to bring that up, and I'll show you that and share screens. If you've never read the Law of Nations, you wouldn't know how to identify a city-state. So here's the first page of the Law of Nations. It says nations or states are bodies politic, societies of men united together for the purpose of promoting their mutual safety and advantage by joint efforts of their combined strength. Right there. Okay, see this word right here? Bodies politic. Nations or states are bodies politic. Nations or states are bodies politic. So let's go over here. Are hereby declared to be a body politic. What is this? This is the act to incorporate Georgetown College in the District of Columbia. It's a body politic right here. When I read this, see, I had read the Law of Nations, and I knew a body politic was a nation or state. And that's why I came out and said that the Georgetown University, or Georgetown College right here, is its own city state. And every other college that claims immunity and claims to be a body politic is its own city state. It's its own separate little country. And since um, the Jesuits are the private militia of the Pope, what they did was and the Pope is a communist, and so is Italy. That's a communist country. They set up Georgetown University under the District of Columbia that the Masons had created for them, had created the cornerstone for them, and had already created their own constitution and everything else, calling it a national constitution, which it wasn't and never was. And it never replaced the Articles of Confederation at all. Since they did that, you can understand now why the city states, meaning the colleges that claim to be body politics, or bodies politic, are communist regimes, and why all this communism is coming out of the universities themselves, which bred this group to be Antifa. You're going to say something, John?
No, I was just looking at section 2 down there, where it named all the people in Georgetown up there with body politics.
Oh, James Ryder, Thomas Lilly,
Yeah,
Samuel Barber, James Gurley, and Anthony Ray.
with perpetual succession.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. With perpetual succession in deed or in law.
Yeah.
Then they have the style of their city-state. And by either in which name, style, and title their successors shall be competent at law and in equity. Okay, because that's what at law means. Anybody ever says the at law means it's not in law, that's crap. They don't understand law and equity. So at law means equity is what it is. You have a court of law and then you have a court of equity. At law is equity. To take themselves to their successors for the use of said college, any estate whatsoever, and any message, lands, tenements, hereditaments, goods, chattels, monies, and other effects by gift, bequest, devise, grant, donation, which brings up Title 31, Section 3113, which that'll tell you how the trust is set up, the Internal Revenue Trust. That's Title 31, Section 3113, accepting gifts.
Yep.
So if it does it by gift, we know who the Internal Revenue Trust was created by. That would be Georgetown University, or actually Georgetown College. The way it reads here, it looks like Georgetown College is the body politic, and Georgetown University is the corporation that they operate through. So their body politic operates through Georgetown University. And that's why they put in here, or, when I went from Georgetown College or Georgetown University. So these same guys, presidents and directors, run both. They run the body politic and the corporate. So this essentially would read as Georgetown College does business as Georgetown University. Georgetown University can be sued and not sued, but Georgetown College claims immunity. Okay, so that's just off the top of my head looking at it. And they talk about real estate, and they actually even claim eminent domain in some of these. They can do eminent domain and all that kind of stuff. So they operate as a government.
Right, and when it's by secession, that means that they can appoint their own replacement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where that works. Okay, law of nations, body politics. Let's put all of the theories to rest. How about that? All the theories around the country on how to fix the country. That would be the Treaty of Oregon. back in 1846 it started. Um, then this is a message for the Catholics if they want to fix their problems. The Roman Catholics, by the way, we declared independence from the Roman Catholic government. So um, just to let you know who we are. Okay, this is the Treaty of Oregon. Okay, there's 3 of these. Hold on one second. I decided to just show them so you can see it. You don't have to. Okay, let's see what we got here. It's an old treaty. Okay, this was a treaty between Her Majesty and the United States of America for the settlement of the Oregon boundary, and this was done in 1846 on June 15th. It was signed at Washington, presented by both House of Parliament and all that. I don't know if I got number 2. Yeah, I got number 2 here. Here it is. Okay, it's the settlement of the Oregon boundary. And the territory where it says Stony Mountains should be finally terminated by amicable compromise of the rights mutually. Oh, you're not seeing this. Hold on one second. I'm sitting here reading it to you and you're not seeing it. Okay. It goes in and it talks about the Minister Plenipotentiary to the United States and the President of the United States of America has, on his part, furnished with full powers James Buchanan, Secretary of State of the United States, who, after having communicated to each other their respective full powers, found in good and due form, have agreed upon and concluded the following articles. Okay, so she had her Privy Council, which was the Minister Plenipotentiary to the United States. But what they did is they transferred all powers from the Senate under emergency to the office of the president under this treaty here. Because there were a bunch of people dying in this deal. There were people that were fighting over the Oregon border. It was in 1846. And they settled it through a treaty. Here's the issue. Ever since that emergency was created, the office of the President of the United States never transferred all of those powers back to the Senate. So that means the White House has been holding everybody's political, religious, human rights, and all that since that time. Because in a Roman form of government, all the power of the people reside in the Senate. And during wartime, the Senate will give all those powers of the people to the office of the president to protect them with. And ever since then, they re-established this emergency every 6 months. Okay, and you go look it up. It's right there. Let's see if there's a page 2. Yeah, that was it. Okay, and then we'll go to page 3. Here we go. I know it's hard to read. It's hard for me to read. It's a bad copy. All right, and this is where they made this agreement between Canada and America. Okay, actually, it was between all the Catholics and the Protestants got together and had an agreement. Hudson Bay Company, it talks about the British subjects may have already in the occupation of land or other property fully acquired within said territory shall be respected. So through this treaty right here, you have English Americans that are literally subjects of the Queen. They just don't tell you they are. You have Dutch Americans, English Americans that are all subject. Just because they're talking about Americans doesn't mean they're actually talking about real Americans that aren't subject to anybody, that don't have anybody over them. Okay, so this is what they did, and when if you go read the history of this, you'll see where they had transferred all powers to what they call the President of the United States. And by the advice and consent of the Senate thereof, ratification be exchanged in London. And it says to be exchanged at London at the expiration of 6 months from the date hereof, or sooner if possible, because it was an emergency that they had done. So this treaty was only supposed to go for 6 months. Well, they keep renewing the emergency that created this treaty every 6 months, which is why the President of the United States works under emergency war powers. And that's where this is the first time it began. It's the first time it started. And all they have to do is cancel this particular emergency. Then all the powers of the people go back to the Senate, and then it's run by the people. So that's how you get what you're doing. Now, we're telling you this not at the expense of this government here and the government of the United States of America under the Articles of Confederation, nor are we telling you this at the expense of the AMU. What we're saying is that you're Roman Catholic. You have a right, just like we do, of self-determination to go the way we want. If you want your constitution that is under the British American Union, and you want to operate through the District of Columbia, the Crown, and then the Vatican, that is your prerogative. That's your choice. It's your political choice. We'll respect that as long as you respect ours. Our right to not do that. We'll even do commerce with you. There's no reason for all this craziness going on and all this fighting. Okay? So what we're saying is that you want your constitution restored, just cancel this this emergency. And we'll know that it is your society and that you need to respect our society. And remember where this came from. Who told you this? We didn't have to tell you anything. We could sit there and let you stew forever if we wanted to. Okay? So don't slap the hand that's trying to be to reach out and say, hey, to the Roman Catholic people, we're trying to be your friends. We're trying to help you. There's no reason for you to sit and look at us as if people that are followers of the way are going to hell just because we're not worshiping your monarch. So you need to think in the way that you do things, because the Roman Catholic way and even the Islamic way does not get along with anybody. And then when they finally succeed in what they're trying to do, they start killing each other. So it's you got to realize the way that you're going here. So that's that right there. That'll fix your problem. Just get rid of that emergency. All the powers go back to your Senate. And then the Senate can start working on behalf of their people and start reversing all this stuff. And then there's no fight between that and the office of the president and everything else. Office of the president just goes back to where it was before it happened. Further, we're also talking about people that have voted for people in the U.S. Senate. Once you, because the Senate actually is supposed to vote for their own members, and they vote for the president, believe it or not. That's how it was originally set up. And when they started accepting people for votes, and the people subjected themselves to that foreign government. I mean, outside of the states of the Union. Because the states of the Union is foreign to the United States under the rule of private international law and many other laws. So let you know what's going on here, and that is just a kind gesture on our part. Please do not turn that around and screw us with it. And this should stop all of those, what I call silly theories that, oh, if you just do this, you'll get their constitution back. If you do that, you'll get your constitution back. That's not the way things operate, okay? Especially in international law. So The Masons want to have their own deal with their own college, um, and their own colleges and city states, and they want to do that. Keep your communism within your metes and bounds. Keep your communism within your stuff. We're not saying we're accepting it, the communism, because there's a lot of people that don't like it and don't want to be a part of it because it's illegal, number one. So the best thing I would think is, when you think, John, is just stop your communism and go back to a republic where you're supposed to be. That would be my advice on this matter. But if you want to try this for yourselves to see if you make you think it works and everything, just keep it in your borders and realize there's choice there. Go ahead and try it. You'll see it'll fail. It fails in 50 years. It always does. And then you'll go back and the next generation can live in a free life and with a republic and all that. So, no, we just don't want a bunch of people suffering because of your ignorance, not realizing that what you're trying to do never works and never does, and never will work. Okay, communism is theft beyond imagination. Here's one of the theories of communism: that the workers that built the public building, well, that the building belongs to them, even though they got paid to build it. That's theft. One man pays 50 men to build a building. In a communist way of thinking, they put their labor into the building, so they own the building, even though they were paid to build it. That's how a communist thinks. That's just outright theft. No difference between theft and that thinking. That's a communist way of thinking. And then they say, well, this is new communism, and there's no such thing as new communism. Communism is communism. And it'll fail. Okay, but if you want to limit your liability, keep it within your borders. Anybody that wants to stay with the ANU and the government of the United States of America and the state governments reinstituting their states under a republic, let them do their thing. We can have two separate legislatures in the states, not a big deal. We'll just we'll do a separation, we'll split, you do your thing, and when yours fails, we'll help you out and try to teach you the way to make things work. Okay? Otherwise, the liability that you guys are bringing upon yourselves is enormous. We're talking about war crimes. We're talking about insurance companies wouldn't even cover you on what you're doing. Stealing 500,000 children a year is not good. Just create an army against you. Okay, so sometimes you got to tell your boss over there in the across the pond, your orders are unlawful. We're not following them. It's time for you guys to stand up, because we lived in relative peace for a very long time. There's no reason why that can't happen again. So at any rate, anything else to cover, John? Because I think I covered everything fairly quickly.
Yes, I think that pretty much covered everything we covered last time we went through it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we had to. Sorry about the delay. We had to. The sound was horrible on my other computer, and we couldn't publish it. We were ready to publish it on Sunday night, and it just didn't happen. So sorry about the delay. But this is the 60th broadcast. We tried to cover everything we covered in that particular program that we did on Sunday night. So that was the reason for the delay. Anyways, thanks for listening to the 60th broadcast of the T-ROH show. If there's anything you guys would like to cover, please leave it in the comments. If you want us to answer questions or anything like that, please do so. We like the likes. We like the subscriptions. When people subscribe, and a lot of people subscribe, it attracts more people to listen to the messages throughout the whole T-ROH show series. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.